I will call this regular council meeting to order. Before we get started, just want to remind all the folks out there in TV land that while this is a masked facility, we are all in this room socially distanced. So when we are speaking, we will be taking our mask off so that we can be heard and we can enunciate, and we're allowed to do that. So just to let everybody know that. So you'll stand for the pledge, please. Chief, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing for a moment, please. Heavenly Father, as we enter into the fall season, we ask for a bountiful harvest and good weather for our farmers to gather that harvest. Last week, we memorialized the 81,000 men and women who are still unaccounted for from our armed forces as far back as World War I. We remember those folks tonight and their families. We ask for your guidance tonight in our decisions, and we ask for Godspeed for the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and solace for her family and her many admirers. And we ask for all of this tonight in your holy name. Amen. All right, Kathy, roll, please.
Carter. Here. Walter.
Here.
Epperson.
Here.
Barstow.
Here.
Hampshire. Here. Gaelic.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda tonight is citizens' comments, and we actually have, Scott, would you go get Barb and the other two folks, please? I would appreciate that. Yes, they can, yeah.
Okay.
We have an update from Barb Triplett on the charter review, and a couple of the folks that are on that board also came with her, so they'll come in and wear their mask and socially distance, and Barb will give us an update on the charter review.
Good evening.
Good evening. Could I have your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Barbara Triplett, and I live at 650 Keltonhurst Drive, Itasca, Ohio. I'm here to give you an update from the Charter Review Commission. And just thought maybe you were wondering where we were on all this, so said something to the mayor, and he said, I think you should come and do this, So just to let you know what we're all about. First of all, there, of course, are 7 of us. And Ben Hubble is one of the members. He's with us here tonight. Mitch Friel is the secretary of our group. Does a fantastic job. We also have Mr. Martin Eichholz, Steve Garabuso, Steve Hellwagon, Stephanie Dougherty, who is the vice chairman, and myself, Barb Triplett, the chairperson. We held our initial meeting on July 30th, and we were welcomed by the mayor, and he swore us into this commission. Mr. Hicken and Mr. Barstow were also present to inform us of our task and set the parameters. And then at that time, after we organized, we set our future meeting dates. We've met 4 times with the 5th one planned for this Wednesday. To date, we have reviewed Articles 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11. And we'll try to do 6, 7, and 8 this Wednesday. So we're moving along quite well. Our discussions have been open, debated, research, and always aiming for a consensus. We don't always agree, but we get a consensus. After Wednesday, there will need to be some reviewing, loose ends tied up and recommendations sent to council. Now, whether that will involve one or two additional meetings, I'm not sure at this point. But I would like to thank Tim Kippen and Kathy Hoskinson for always being there. They came along beside us to help support us in our meetings, and they've done exactly that. Your law director for answering our questions and doing some clarifications. And then, of course, the committee itself, because they always come to these meetings prepared. They do their homework, they do what research they need to, they look at other cities, do a lot of work on the internet, so they're prepared, they're organized. And then we'd like to thank council for giving us this opportunity to serve the task force. So if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Any questions? Well, I know it's a huge task, and I'm glad you're at the wheel with all of your expertise and history.
History, yes.
And thank you very much for what you've done so far. I know everybody was kind of curious, and so was I, so I thought it would be great to. You sure you guys don't have any questions? All right. Yes.
I just want to thank the members for, I got a chance to meet them. It's a really diverse group. It's a great group. Congrats to council for finding good people, and thanks to those good people for agreeing to serve. I've talked to Mr. Hubble. He emailed me a couple of times, and he said it's been a very positive experience, as Ms. Triplett said. So that's good that there's good debate and good open discussion. That's the way to do it, and then try to come to a consensus. And we look forward to your report probably sometime towards the end of the year, it sounds like. Awesome.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for taking the time tonight.
Thank you.
'Cause you used to, Monday nights, or your old stomping grounds were Monday nights, right? For how many years?
14.5.
14 and a half. Thank you, Mrs. Strickler, appreciate it.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Is there anybody else out
I don't
there?
believe so, but I'll check.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if there's anybody else out there for citizens' comments. Did she say 14 years?
14 and a half.
14 and a half years. It's like dog years though. 14 and a half probably feels like 28 or
No one's out there.
Nobody's out there? Okay, very good. Introduction, discussion, and approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Carter. Discussion? And roll.
Carter?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Epperson?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hampshire?
Yes.
Gaelic?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Consent agenda passes. On to reports. I'll save some of my comments for later. Mr. Barstow, what do you got?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, just really good to hear from the Charter Commission. I'm glad that they're making progress. And just a reminder to council that before you know it, the census results will be in, and once we have them come from on high, we'll need to come up with nominees for the ward commission that will look at our ward boundaries and determine if they need to be with redrawn. So that's just some thoughts about folks.
How soon do you think we'll get the numbers?
You know, Mr. Mayor, with the way things are going right now, who knows? When we get them, we will let council know, and we'll put that information out, and then whoever is in leadership at that point, it's obviously not gonna be until next year, I don't think. Then we'll get those drawn. Those probably wouldn't take effect until, probably for the 23 election, I think is when they would take effect. That's the next time we have, next time we have natural ward terms up, so. Bottom line is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I did, but we'll deal with it when we get it. So
Sure.
just for council members to keep that in mind. A couple things that we've been talking about. I've been talking to Mr. Hicken and Mrs. Carter, some other council members about. One issue is, this is from Kathy, and I want to put this out. This would require, and I am not proposing this, I'm just putting this out for potential discussion. Right now, the deadline for council agenda materials is Wednesday at 4 p.m. Is that right, Kathy? 4 p.m.? A request from Kathy is that it be moved to noon at Wednesday. That gives Jess sufficient time to get those items out onto the website, transmit them to Kathy, and so we can get them timely. So that's just something for discussion. That would have to be a rule change if we decided to do that. So if anybody has any comments or issues or questions about that or other suggestions, I'm open to it. We'll see where that goes. But I will probably at the next meeting, depending on what I hear from fellow council members, propose that as a change. Some of the other changes we've been talking about to the meeting and to the structure of the meeting, some of these would require change to council rules, some would not. But just some things that are being discussed, I want council to think about it and comment on it this evening, or comment to me in an email, or give me a call, or send me a text, or what have you, is whether or not we want to continue to have our directors attend every single part of every single minute of every single council meeting, and how we're going to handle their reports. So one of the proposals is to have the directors submit reports as they do, but not necessarily attend the entire meeting unless maybe they have legislation or some resolution or something on. Obviously, that affects some directors more than others, and I see right now the directors are saying, no, we don't want to do that. We want to sit here for every single, so I'm just going to drop this topic. No, just kidding. So that's just something we're talking about. Obviously, it's going to affect some directors more. Some directors have a resolution or an ordinance on every meeting. Some don't. So we're just going to have to talk about that. So that's something to think about. There's just been some suggestions that maybe our meetings run a little long. I will say this. This is just Todd Barstow talking, not as president of council, just Todd Barstow as a member of council. For the directors, and I've talked to Mr. Hicken about this. I hope you don't mind if I'm going to say this.
I don't mind.
I think you, okay. I don't think you can't stop me. Hey, I love your reports, but I have to tell you, for me personally, it's my job to read your report. If I don't read your report, that's on me, not on you. And so, for me personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else on council. For me personally, don't need to hear you read your report or go over it in great detail. Okay, I don't. I was talking to Tim about this, and I think Mr. Zetz will, maybe Mr. Walther will back me up with this. You try that with a judge or a court of appeals, where you're the lawyer and you start rehashing everything, you're gonna get a giant a wedgie from the presiding judge, and they're gonna want you to move on to something, tell me something I don't know, type of situation. So, that's just me. But not that I don't like having you guys here and asking you questions and listening, but that's just a way to save time but still maintain transparency. So that's just something we're going to talk about going forward. I haven't made any decisions yet, so don't make plans, okay, for October the 1st or whatever it is, okay?
Yes, sir.
The 2nd or whatever day. The 3rd, 2nd, okay, October the 2nd, okay, don't be, I'm going to the something, okay? So if council wants to have any discussion with that, maybe we can have that later on, but, or let me know. But those are just some things we're talking about. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Zetz?
I think it's actually October 5th, but I mean, I wasn't looking at the calendar either.
What about the second? My bad.
But I had nothing tonight. Thank you.
Well, you had something.
I had something. I don't think I get out of that director's pass anyway, so it was just for my friends out there.
Yeah, that definitely did not include Mr.
I knew it
Zetz.
did.
We're paying him how much? Okay, Mr. Hicken.
One thing on Mr. Barstow's comment, I would also add that one of the things that I'm thinking about, boy, it does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yep.
One of the things that I'm thinking about is also adding items back onto the consent agenda. That would be another way, if there are items that are just flat out housekeeping stuff, I think you see one of them tonight, that those put back on the consent agenda would also help move the meeting. So that's another thing I was looking at when Todd and Tony discussed this. Other than that, I'm happy to be able to go to jail. I appreciate everybody letting me call in last time. and I will bow out and leave it for Mr. Nicholson, unless there's any questions.
Anything for Tim? Jamie?
Thank you. You have my report at your seats tonight. You each got a copy. This is the budget briefing book we'll go over next week. In addition to that, you also received a CIP document with all the specific project details, and a single sheet, two-sided, that has the unfunded projects. So in other words, once we went through the funding side of things and the operating needs, we had to, again, I always call it the Tetris game, move things around, push things off. So there were a number of projects, particularly in the Public Service Department and the Utility Department, that clearly funding's not there for it. So, but we want council to be aware that we have those needs. Those needs have been identified on a long-term basis, so keep them out kind of in the collective consciousness, if you will, so that we're not just assuming everything is sunshine and roses. So you have that, and we're in great position. That's a week before the hearing, so I'm really pleased this year. We had a good response from the directors, getting me their budget information, and Tim and I were able to sit down with the directors and work through the budgets and find how we make it work better. And there was a lot of support there, so it's been a great process, and I think I'm looking forward to the meeting next week and going forward through the document. I have third reading on the employee handbook tonight. Again, most of that is lining things up so that the non-union employees line up with the collective bargaining agreements. So it's pretty much just housekeeping in that sense. Income tax revenues is the last thing I'll touch on. Last month's collections were surprising in a good way. The revenue has come back. I'm still reticent to call it Victory One, just because, they may have had 7 more days of collections in this month's period than they did last year. So it's always hard to get an apples to apples comparison. But I'm happy that we're in the position we are, as opposed to being, $500,000, $1 million behind. So it does put us in a better position going into the budget and going into year end. Again, not declaring victory that we're all past it and life's great, but it has a little bit of sunshine. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Jamie? Yes.
Well, again, I want to thank Jamie and the directors and Mr. Hicken for getting this together. I know this is a lot of work to do this, especially now when we have our funding sources. Again, and I don't know, sometimes we feel that way, we just don't know, so we'll see. But to our newer members, this is the most exciting, dynamic reading you will come across as a member of this council, okay? And so, you have a week, try to memorize it. This is really, seriously, this is it, this is what we do for the rest of the year. This is our planning document for the rest of the year, so try to get as familiar with it as you can. If you have questions, feel free to contact me. I probably won't be able to answer many of them, so I'll refer you to Jamie. Seriously, if you have questions, ask me. Contact Jamie. Jamie will make himself available. If you want to come in and ask questions, you want to have a dialogue with him over the phone, a setup, or an email, or something like that, we're really happy to answer any questions. This can be a little intimidating sometimes. I know the first time I looked at it, I was totally confused. So we'll try to help so you understand it, so you can ask good questions next week. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor. We've got two resolutions on the agenda tonight. 2020-057 is a resolution to submit an application to OPWC to try and get funding for the Jefferson Street Waterline project next year. And 2020-058 is a resolution for geotechnical consultants to do the concrete and soil testing as part of the WRF upgrade process. So those two things are on the agenda tonight. Outside of that, some highlights I wanted to hit on. We are going to do turnoffs this month starting tomorrow. Focus is going to be on individuals who entered a payment plan last month and did not follow that payment plan this month. So that's going to be our primary focus. We're looking at around 33 turnoffs, which is very similar to what we were last month. So that should be about 1 day's worth of turnoffs, and we'll go from there. Next week, we are flushing hydrants. So if anybody's not aware, a lot of times that stirs up some iron that may have settled out of the water in the pipes, and customers could get some rusty water. Our hydrants clear up within about 30 seconds, which is really great. So most people that get discolored water, if they run their faucet for 5 minutes, it should clear up from there. But that's going on next week. And the final thing I want to talk about was an AC update. Stern Theater AC is almost complete. They've got cleanup, they've got one piece of ductwork to hook up, and a thermostat to install. The big hang-up will be waiting on AEP to install the meter. So we've got that process rolling, but it's kind of up to AEP when they come out and give us the meter for the electric service to the AC.
Great.
Well, Mr. Schrock, will that take as long as it took for them to get the poles situated on Main Street, or?
They did not tell me, but
I mean, that's their track record.
it could be a while. So
Okay.
as soon as I have more information, I'll be sure to let everybody
Since the
know.
meters record the power use and involve money,
Could be,
Is there, so there's
I shouldn't talk to you.
No.
They should be pretty quick.
there's juice, right?
Not yet. There's
Yeah.
juice on the pole.
Yeah.
They're gonna bring it to us.
Mr. Hicken was optimistic, but I appreciate the sentiment. I agree with it, but yeah.
Different field crews.
Outside of that, I don't have anything else. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Chris? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Alan?
Thank you, Mayor. Myself, I have two resolutions as well. 059, this is for a larger culvert on Summit Glen Drive, just east of Summit Road. It's an older concrete culvert. We've had a few sinkholes in Summit Glen Drive. The joints on the concrete are separating, so that does need to be replaced sooner than later. And the second one is for the Morpsey attributable funds application for the Broad Street downtown corridor. It's not committing us to anything. It's simply legislative support, showing legislative support, and that's required by Morpsey for the application process. Next week, there will be some maintenance of traffic out here on Broad Street. We're starting next week as they begin to put the turn lane in for Heron Manor work. I'll keep posted on schedule for that as I know more, but right now it's looking like that's going to start next week. And then finally, looking to schedule a street committee meeting sooner than later as to discuss the impact fee ordinance topic. So that, happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Alan? You'll work on that, Mrs. Carter?
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Fulton?
Thank you, Mayor. One item to highlight, this is ordinance 2019-4341, that's Scenic View Estates. They have resolved the issue with the acceptance of Faultless Drive. They have provided all updated materials to staff to review those and vet those. Those updated materials were distributed to the Development Committee last week. We will be discussing those this Thursday at the Development Committee meeting. If a recommendation comes out of that meeting by Development Committee, we expect that to be before Council for consideration on October 2nd through 5th. Aside from that, I can answer any questions.
Anything materialize out of the Mayor's Court on the 17th on Pataskala Square?
They decided to move forward with the trial, so they're in the process of scheduling the trial.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that update.
Transferred that to Newark.
Interesting. And just jump, anything for Scott?
I do, Scott, I want to thank you for, I did check, and indeed, the giant pothole at the apartments was fixed, and the lady who was sort of heading up the group that was asking for assistance really appreciates it, and she's very, very thankful. It's much safer, it looks great, they fixed it. She said she and the other residents were very happy, so thank you, appreciate that.
Thanks, I'll pass that along to Steve.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Yes.
Scott, I just wanted to bring up again our favorite auto shop down the street. And their continued parking and just cars that haven't moved in a few months. And just pointing out again that it seemed to me that my understanding was when they went back in through the zoning again, that they got a list of things they were supposed to do and not supposed to do.
and I don't think they're following that specifically, just pointing it out so Steve can go take a look again.
I'll let Steve know.
Thanks.
And just, I concur, I mean, I drive by there every day, just about. Sometimes, for a while, I thought it was abandoned. It didn't seem anything going on there, and then it's just,
Yep.
They switched owners and now it's the same thing. It's car repair again and it filled right back up.
Right,
One
it's-
day it was empty and
yeah.
next day it was
right,
filled
it
right
looks
back
like,
up.
it looks like more like a junk. Like a
They've even
junk
moved
yard.
into parking in the grass now.
Right, yeah, they have.
So-
It's just not,
It's
for
not-
being right downtown, it's not a good look.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Good
I
job.
just wanna jump back real quick to Alan. Alan, kudos on the river roundup. First of all, we had perfect weather, and it was very nice to see some of, see Chris and work with him side by side, and Lanier as always, and Alan, and let's see, who else was there from the city?
Mr. Gaylor.
And Mr.
Gaelic was there.
Mr. Gaelic was there, and
Jack.
and Jack was there also from Scott's department, so it was nice, it was surprising, and we worked very hard to clean up our stretch, and then we all pigged out at the dairy hut, so that's incentive for you folks. Next year, you get a free coney dog before they run out of coney sauce. Nice job, Alan, as usual.
Thank you, thanks for coming out.
And knowing that the situation with the soil and water district and not knowing which direction we're gonna head, I hope you'll continue to keep it going on a local level if they don't work with us on a county level. I'm sure they will at some point, but I know we're losing and you folks might have seen that young lady come in here a couple of times, Denise Brooks, came in, no relation, but she was kind of the firecracker, you might want to say, and she kept the things going, and I've worked with her many years. We cleaned up many stretches of the South Fork of the Licking River, and she's leaving, so we don't know what's going to happen to the program, but Alan's assured me that we will keep it going on a local level. And we had, what, 22 people?
Yes.
21 people show up, and we didn't even advertise, so it was kind of cool.
Wait a minute. Are you
Yes.
talking about the Soil and Water Conservation District is gonna cut ties with the city? Is that what you said?
No.
Oh, that's what I thought.
We're losing a lady that works there that worked closely with us, and we just don't know what the program's gonna be like without her. But we're gonna continue on a local level, so.
The river round is specific.
The river, just the river round.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right. Sorry.
It's all right. Lanier.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a few things I'd like to highlight, telling you something that you do not know. Our Liberty Park project, we came to a roadblock with the shelter house. That roadblock is the shelter is considered a commercial structure, and with that commercial structure, technically a shelter, it requires a bathroom facility. So at this time, with the Licking County Building Code, we're required to file an appeal by October 16th. And at that time, we will go through the route and figure out how to make sure that we're able to get that shelter installed at the facility before December 31st. So we're gonna go through that route. Hopefully we can, I guess, change some minds as regards to how, I guess, they operate, with it just being a shelter house and not necessarily needing a bathroom. So that's our argument technically, but I'm hoping that we can come to a consensus and actually get it figured out in time. Next thing, Development Committee. I've been tasked with some work with the Parks Advisory Board from the Planning Department. We have some notes that we'll end up giving you today and tomorrow. So we'll have our parks and open spaces items in, so you guys can review those in the meantime. And last thing, our pool will be hopefully fixed by Monday. Got a call today. They had an emergency fix that they have to take care of on Wednesday, so we've been moved out one day. They're scheduled out Thursday, Friday, and Monday. And aside from that, I'm open to any questions.
They found the leak.
Well, they're fixing what we identified
Okay.
in July.
All right, very good. Anything from Lanier? Yes, ma'am.
Lanier, the thing with the shelter, is that a new thing in the code, or, because we have shelter houses without restrooms?
I can't comment on that one, but I don't think think it's, I guess within the Licking County Code, it does not mention shelter houses, but with us, if the shelter was going on a residential property, it would not apply to us, from what I recollect from Laura Hunt with the buildings and code from Licking County. With our property being, I guess, city property, once we put a structure on it, it's considered commercial. That's my understanding of the whole ordeal here.
We have a number of shelters without bathrooms.
I agree, although those were put in significant, I don't know when the code changed, I don't know if they decided to,
They're grandfathered in right now.
you know, whether they decided to, change their focus or what, but.
Who told us that we have to have a bathroom?
This is county. So they're going by the state code. So that's a state code that they cannot deviate from, which is why we have to go through this process.
They have not approved our plans, is what they actually said. They sent basically a notice back to Lanier and said, we will not approve the plans until the bathroom issue is resolved. You can either change the plans to comply and have the bathroom, have a permanent on-site bathroom, or it was weird, or it was just, then they talked about a variance as to whether it could be a temporary. It's hard to tell what they talk about a variance, but clearly the plan right now, an official adjudication order has come down from Licking County that said these plans are not compliant and incomplete. And that's what the issue that's the order we would have to appeal. And I don't know why this is the first time we've heard of it. I mean, I don't know when those other shelters had been built or
Long time ago.
how they interpreted the code. I don't think this is really a code change, but that's the way they're interpreting it right now, and that's why they basically, we have stopping the project.
Yes, ma'am.
So, if we had to go down the route of putting in a restroom facility, what is the projected cost for something like that, and is it or feasible where we have the shelter? I mean, is there?
Location, I guess, I mean, it's in a neighborhood, everybody has a bathroom facility, but prefab facility, I've priced them out before, $10,000 for a prefab, just pre-built, pop down. But we'd have to get water there or some type of holding tank that will need to be extracted, so there will be some extra cost to that. So
Awesome.
I'm hoping that we don't have to go that route.
All right, anything else?
That's all I have.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. I know OHM's our consultant on that. Have they been involved with this design issue, or?
OHM didn't design the structure. Mid-States Recreation had the structure. We've been working with Hall for the, I guess, the engineering piece of it. OHM had nothing. They just did the concept plan, and that was it.
Okay.
They didn't do any other work on that. But Hall was definitely helping me with the application, things like that, so they are helping.
And they weren't aware that restrooms had to be in shelter houses now?
No comment.
Okay. All right, anything else from Lanier?
Well, they were aware, they weren't aware.
It was a surprise to them as well, and a surprise to me. So
Okay.
once once we had the application, once the application was sent down and it was sent back to me from the contractor who was ready to go, this is the route we are taking
Okay.
now.
All right, Chief Brooks,
I have nothing tonight, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
anything for the chief? All right, committee chair reports. Yes, sir. Nothing? Okay. Any committee chair, we had one tonight, yes, sir.
I can go after, did you just call somebody else?
No.
Okay. We had a development committee meeting, last week. We got through chapter 5 in the comp plan, we're moving along. This Thursday, we're gonna try and wrap up 5 and a little bit of 6. I'm hoping, Mel and Andy chime in, I'm hoping 3 to 4 meetings we can wrap this thing up 4 times already. We're getting really close. So as far as scenic view goes, we're gonna look at that on Thursday before we start the comp plan. Hopefully, Scott, I talked to Scott before the meeting, this meeting, and There's been no comments submitted on it, so I'm thinking that we're gonna breeze right through that. You, Alan, and Chris have all said that you're for it, told us that last meeting, so, hopefully we'll get a vote and do that to council review. So, if anybody has any questions, that's all I got.
Okay. Any other committee chair report? Yes, ma'am.
Safety and Technology Committee met tonight for the first time this year, and I survived it. We talked about a number of things here in the building and discussed some things that were currently underway, and have some more information coming our way, so set our next meeting for November 2nd, which is monumental because this committee usually only meets once a year, so we're really excited about setting up a second meeting. And happy to answer any questions if anyone has them.
Anything for Jude? All right, any other committee chair reports? Okay. Unfinished business, 4341, still tabled. Ordinance 2020-4372 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Epperson. Kathy, when you're ready, third reading, please.
Ordinance 2020-4372, this is third reading, an ordinance to amend the employee handbook and policy manual for public employees of the city of Pataskala.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move we adopt ordinance 2020-4372.
You're gonna adopt, a motion to adopt. I need a second. Seconded by Mrs. Carter. Discussion and roll, please.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Gaelic,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2020-4370 for a second reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Carter. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading, please.
Ordinance 2020-4370. This is the second reading, an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Pataskala codified ordinances.
Discussion? Ordinance 2020-4373 for a second reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Epperson. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading, please.
Ordinance 2020-4373. This is the second reading, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020.
Discussion? Okay, on the resolutions on old business, 047 stays on the table. On a new business, resolution 2020-057, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to prepare and submit an application for funding under the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement Program for the purpose of replacement of the water mains on Jefferson Street and Depot Street.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Walther, seconded by Mr. Epperson. Discussion and roll.
Gaelic,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-058, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute a contract with Geotechnical Consultants, Inc. for inspection and testing services related to the WRF upgrade project.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Walther and seconded by Mrs. Carter. Discussion and roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Gaelic,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-059, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute a contract with Spenco Excavating, Inc. to replace a 48-inch culvert under Summit Glen Drive.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Carter, seconded by Mr. Epperson.
Mr. Lee.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lee? Okay.
Throwing that voice to me.
Discussion and roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Gaelic,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-060, resolution authorizing the city administrator to apply for federal attributable funds programmed by the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, or MORPC, to improve the State Route 16 corridor.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Epperson. Discussion and roll.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Gaelic,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes. Did Tim go out to check real quick? Okay, we'll see if there's anybody out there that wants to speak tonight under citizens' comments. Okay. We'll go around the room then, and we'll start with Mr. Epperson.
We had there was a medical emergency at one of the schools on Southwest Licking a couple weeks ago with a staff member and one of the teachers that were there actually helped save the life of that teacher. I won't withhold the person's name without their approval, but they wanted to express, and Tommy, if you could pass this on to West Licking for the complete process. They said they sat down with medics afterward. They expressed what they were going to be feeling, both physically and emotionally, and how to process that. So they were really grateful for what West Licking offered and the whole complete process. So they wanted to pass that thing. That's all I have.
Very good. Mrs. Carter.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments on what Mr. Barstow had mentioned earlier in the evening about director's reports and such. I mean, I too am in favor of not having the directors have to read the reports to us every evening. I am guilty of not always thoroughly reading them. I will steal the "why would I when I can get the Cliff Note version on Monday night" comment. But I think it's solely on us to read the director's reports, ask any questions ahead of time so they're prepared to be able to answer them. And I am all for the expediency of our council meetings. We have a lot going on, various committees, council meetings, council directors, staff. I mean, throughout. We do not want to have to be here as much as we're here. So I think it is a fabulous idea to try to reduce our meeting time. That's all I have.
Mr. Gaelic?
I was gonna say the same thing you said earlier, and just thank the staff, Alan, for River Roundup, and it was a very fun time, and the city is well represented, so thank you again.
Mr. Barstow?
I don't have anything. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Zapps?
I have nothing, thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Walford?
I was gonna comment also, as Ms. Carter did, as far as the directors being here, I think this actually molds into a couple different comments about Kathy getting the reports earlier so that council can get them earlier, because I'm gonna say this again, Tim is excellent at communicating with us and gives us the opportunities to start talking to him on Thursday and Friday and certainly on Monday. So if there is something in the report or a question that can get resolved, or at least maybe something that has to be brought to council, the conduit is there as long as we get the information, as early as we can. So I guess I'd even ask if we can get our packets, even earlier. I don't know how feasible that is, Kathy. But
as soon as I can get the
I know you.
documents.
I know. I'm just saying, if we get them earlier, then I think that helps you guys, in essence, the directors, not have to be in attendance. If we had the reports earlier, we could ask Tim. And again, Tim, thank you again for the level of communication is outstanding. So that would be my 2 cents on it.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, if we go to this, just directors, if we go to this where you're not necessarily here, your report, I'm not saying that they're not, but you just have to make sure that your reports are have the information in them and they're clear as to what you're trying to communicate, I'm not saying they don't do that now, it's just gonna have to be an even better version of what we are getting, so that if you're not here, we don't have to scratch heads as to what was Alan talking about? I'm just picking on you, Alan, because you're just right in my line of sight. What was Alan talking about in that fourth paragraph? So, not that it's not, but it's just got to be double checked to make sure that we don't have these sorts of hiccups. And again, to echo what Andy said, Tim sat out here for 6 years, so he's very good about communicating with us. We can always, and letting us know what's going on. We use him, talking to him to communicate with you folks, and so that goes really, really well. But we have a lot of committees that have been putting in a lot of work, as Mr. Fulton would know, Mr. Haynes would know, a lot of extra work, and we're trying to. That's where a lot of the work, in my view, really should be done in some of those committee meetings, to really hammer out a lot of the issues and come to council with a recommendation. We trust our committees to do that. So that's kind of part. That's also part of the impetus. We have some council members who have put in a lot of extra time, and so we're trying to be as transparent as we can with the public. Those reports are all on our website. People can take a look at them, but we're trying to make our meetings a little bit more efficient, but still get the information out, still get our job done. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I too enjoy there's so much more information, so thank you. Makes my job easier. And I enjoy I get to meet once a month with the directors on our mayor's meeting, and we actually changed the format of how we did that. And that's been extremely helpful, and I've often marveled. I mean, we come here at 4 or 5 or 6 whenever the committee meetings or leadership, and sometimes we're here till 9 or 10, but on Mondays you guys get here at 7 or 8 or 9 in the morning, and then you're going home at 8 or 9 or 10, so anything we can do to and the reports, yeah, as Mr. Barstow said, as long as the reports continue to be like they are. You know, I always have a few questions I throw out as I'm thinking during the week, but it's nothing that, again, I can't either call up or ask Tim for, so if we can streamline it, that'd be great. But again, the communication's fantastic, so. Jude?
Nothing.
Mr. Lee?
I'll chime in.
Anything from the fire board?
We have not had a meeting,
Okay.
since I reported on
Okay.
station.
I just wanted to get that in before you said, hey,
Hey,
let's get out of here.
actually, I was gonna chime in if that's all right.
Sure.
No, I think that, I think that this is a great discussion. What it comes down to for me is I just think that, I just feel like our meetings can be more efficient. I think there's a lot of redundancy in them, and no fault of anyone's. But I think sometimes we talk about the same thing 2-3 times, for example, it'll come up in a committee report, and then it comes up in a director's report, and then we talk about it again when we vote on it in the legislation part. So, for example, if someone has legislation on, we talk about it that time and that time only. I think Kathy, the charter says, correct me if I'm wrong, that the only reports that are required by the council rules are committee chair reports, right?
That's correct.
I think Tim and I talked a little bit today about the consent agenda, and I really like that idea, because I think it gives us flexibility. So if some of these easier things, we can approve them, and then it wouldn't be that we disapprove them, we just wanted to discuss more. The template that's kind of floating around in my head, and Tim and I talked about, was just the directors that their stuff's approved, they go home. They show up from the beginning, they go home, and then if we need more info, they stay. Something along those lines, but I think all of us together can figure this out and come up with a really solid plan and have efficient and quicker meetings.
Awesome. What else you got?
Do you have anything?
No. I'm waiting for you to say what you normally say.
You have something? I just want to say really quick, to talk to you guys about the reports. Last Friday, I had a conversation with the directors. Feel free to jump in, anybody. One of the things that we thought we might do is change their reports slightly so that they hold the same information, but there would be hot topic bullet items added at the top. stuff that may be buried in there, or that they might usually say out here today, that would be something to draw your attention to. That might be a change in those reports so that it catches your eye up at the top if there's something that's particularly high profile that they think you ought to know about. I thought that was a great suggestion from them. And I also remain committed to making them sure.
Very good.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Gaelic,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
5:30 on October 5th.